the living room, and Cole would accidentally close the doors all the time, and all the cool air
I had
would
a
stay.
girlfriend at some points, but the sound barrier wasn't good.
No, whole nother story there
yeah,
too.
I don't know,
Man.
should I tell that story? I kind
No,
of want to.
dude.
Start again.
It won't feel as authentic.
Yeah, so I think I need you to be closer.
Okay. How about now? How about now?
I think it's good.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I'm gonna be. All right. So yeah, cool. So we've started. What's going on, people? My name is Cole Connor. I'm an artist and entrepreneur, and this is episode number 6 of the Cole Connor podcast. I have a beautiful person with me today. This dude has been in my life since I was like 11 in 5th grade art class.
5th grade art class.
His name is Joshua Jennings. Welcome to the show, bro.
Thank you. So excited to be here.
Dude, we've been having a lot of conversation. You came and stayed at my new spot last night, and I'm honestly kind of tired. We've been talking about a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, it's unfortunate we didn't start earlier.
I know.
We've had so many conversations this morning that have been truly enlightening.
We actually just saw, and I'm gonna talk about this first. We just saw an old lady at the coffee shop. She fell, hit her head. She was bleeding from her nose and her head, I think. And we were not the first people to get up to help. This is kind of a controversial first subject of the show, but I was asking him, I was like, at what point are you the first person to go help the lady?
Yeah. I want to be 100% clear. I did not see this lady fall. Cole was actually facing the street.
But I didn't see her fall.
I was not aware of the situation until someone else had already arrived and called 911. At that point, I wasn't aware. Cole here, I do think, actually saw her fall and did not say anything to me. He was just kind of watching it and playing it by ear.
No. Really, what I was trying to say is that I'm not really the first person to... Dude, this is really messed up. I can't even say it like this. I feel like I'm not the first person to help. I like freeze in situations. I tell the story I think I told it in one of my last videos, but really, first time I got in a wreck, first thing I did, I didn't think about the other person. I didn't think about Bailey, who's in the car with me. I called my dad, and I was like, Dad, I just got in a wreck. I don't know what to do. But guess what Bailey did? She hopped out. She called the police.
Yeah.
She was like 13. So, like, what person are you, man? Like, at what point, I'm going to say the same thing. At what point, if there's an old lady riding a bike and you see her crash, what are you going to do, bro? And don't lie. You already told me.
So I do think I'm guilty of, like, the bystander effect. Yeah. I do think that. I don't know that I'm immediately cutting my flashers on and, like, stopping the car and, like, getting out. I do think I'm one of those people that, like, cuts a U-turn down the nearest street and kind of drives back by slowly, to see, like, if things are good, but I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I just feel like I'm kind of guilty of that bystander effect. I'm just not, I don't know if it's just because I'm not trained to think that way or because I haven't, I don't know. I don't know why my brain is geared that way. I don't know that I'm just immediately stopping and hopping out of my car and going to help somebody like that.
And what makes that person, because there are people, it's like their goal is like, oh, let me go save this person's life. But for me, I'm just like, I don't know, is it an embarrassment thing? Like, you don't want to be, like, this person's fine, it's not a big deal.
Right, it could be. But, I mean, again, like, you talk about the training, the guy that actually, we overheard the conversation, and the guy that actually who was the first one who ended up, like, telling them to call 911 was, like, a military guy, and he had, like, some training with... in healthcare somehow.
He was very strong looking.
Yeah, I mean, like, he was, like, the stereotype for who you would expect to, like, run up and handle a situation like that, and he did what he was expected. I don't know if it was the training or, like, is he wired differently than us? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it might be. I think it's a wired thing. So I think I'm an observer, and I feel like you're kind of like that too, or we've always been ever since we were kids. Okay, so if you don't know, me, Joshua, Will, Tim, a couple other people in and out. Greg. Like, these are some childhood friends that we kind of all grew up together, and we were like wallflowers. Like, we're not like the dudes, right?
Yeah, definitely kind of like, definitely not like fit into like the jock crowd or.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know how you would characterize like our friend group. We were definitely kind of on the outside of a lot of things, but then we had some like interconnections. Like Cole was, a really, a standout football player for our high school.
And you were really good at track and cross country.
Yeah,
but
they aren't the glamour sports.
That's true.
Everybody
That's
knows
true.
that. They're not the glamour sports. It's not football.
It's really messed up. It's twisted.
A little bit. They don't bring in revenue, so if you're just a finances person, then
football's the way to go.
Yeah, football, basketball. That's kind of where you can make more of your money. So.
That's really true.
It's hard to turn a profit with the cross-country team.
It really is. There's some underlying tension here about this. But it really is crazy. It's like all these other sports are just as cool. Like the fact that you could run 5K in like 17 minutes. That's insane. Because I can't do that. I never could do that. Yeah. But I could hold a football and sprint down the field. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of funny how that is. So anyways, I'm just going to fast forward a little bit. My dude Josh here. He doesn't consider himself a teacher right this moment, as he just told me. He's an educator. This man is an educator, and I wanted to bring him on to not only like goof around and just talk about random stuff, but also he's been a teacher, and you correct me where I'm wrong, wherever, for the past 6 years.
Yeah, this is year 6.
And his perspective on so much stuff has influenced the way I think about things, and if I say anything that I'm not allowed to say or whatever, just let me know and I'll be able to cut it out in the future. But you work with a lot of low-income people, and you're able to, you see, we went to like a private school where there was money, like people had money, and it just obviously was not like a low-income place. We were probably more of like the middle,
maybe like middle class.
Yeah, middle class, probably the lower end of the school in general. But for him to go into this low income school and teach the kids and like all the stuff he's told me, just like the learning, it's really interesting. So I wanted to kind of like dive into that with you about what that's like coming from where we come from and then like seeing the whole different world, I guess.
Yeah. So that's like, it's a loaded question. Like there's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah.
But it's definitely different. Like that was one of the things I had to navigate was my background was so very different than a lot of the students that I teach.
Mm-hmm.
I work in a rural area. It's a Title I school, so it's there's high levels of poverty there.
Mm-hmm.
So that wasn't one of the immediate things I recognized was like my lived experiences are very different from the lived experiences of a lot of the individuals that I'm working with.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one thing that I really did that I've had to work on and really like wrap my mind around, and I'm constantly just trying to improve on that because I know that a lot of my students in particular have experiences that are just so very different from mine. I was fortunate. I came through an alternative certification program called Teach for America, and I've talked to you a little bit about that. But the big emphasis for them is, to provide equitable teaching practices and opportunities so that all students have the right to like an excellent education.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the big things that they push is like, we have Teach for America would take a lot of our high-performing college graduates, and they would try to mold these individuals into folks who are mindful of their educational practices and make sure that they were equitable.
Do you feel like that program helped to teach you like empathy and compassion, or do you feel like you already had that going in?
I do think it prepared me in that it made me mindful of some of the things that I knew going in that like my private school background would be something I'd have to navigate. And I think Teach for America really emphasized that to me.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is a lot of the students that I work with don't look like me. They have very different backgrounds from me. So that's another thing, especially with race, how do you open some of those dialogues so that they're productive, but then also making sure that you're not, you obviously don't want to push your views on anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But just to have, some of these frank, open conversations and let kids express themselves, which I think is important, whether you're at a private school or whether you're at a public school, is to have, for kids to have an environment where they feel comfortable and where they feel like they can come in and really talk about, things that are on their heart and some of the things that are going on in our world today. But to do it in a way that's productive, in a way that's academic, in a way that
positive,
is,
yeah.
I mean, it's like, even if, one of the things is we have, our current president's a little polarizing at times.
Mm-hmm.
So I have kids who are definitely on both sides of the political spectrum, but to allow them to have a dialogue or a conversation where all views are acceptable, and then we can have debates on those views and why they stand the way they are, and just to try to help kids promote their own independent thinking versus just regurgitating talking points that they hear, whether that be on the news or whether that be out in the community, but for them to think for themselves and make those decisions themselves. Where do I stand and where do my beliefs align to?
That is so important, and I feel like I wasn't really born when I was in high school for some reason. Like I never thought about things like that. But I do feel like we had some freedom, but I don't really know if I felt like super comfortable, and I don't know if that was like with certain teachers there was some better than others, and that's what's been another. It's a little bit off subject, but it's been very interesting to you think about when I hear you telling me stuff. I immediately connect it with older teachers, and it's like you kind of see what maybe they're going through, like the struggles that you go through to try to keep these open dialogues. And you've been really awesome about building relationships with these kids, and because you take it outside of school and you teach cross country and you've done soccer,
girls soccer, boys soccer,
and some of the things these kids say to you is just so inspiring. It's like you've influenced these kids.
I like to think, that I've had hopefully a more positive than negative impact in my tenure. I've gotten obviously
very politically correct way to say it. That's great. That's nice.
Year after year, I think I've gotten better at that. But the one thing, I was honored to represent our district as its teacher of the year one year, and I got to meet a lot of other educators, a lot of other district teachers of the year. And one of the things that I saw that was just a common theme was everybody pointed to building relationships with kids, not only in the classroom, but outside of the classroom. They said, if you want to be a good teacher, you have to do that. That's where all your time has to be invested in. They say, I know for first, second year teachers, it's so hard because there's so many hurdles and learning the nuances of how things work. But ultimately it's, can I build relationships with kids? And can I do that in a professional manner? You aren't friends with kids. It is kind of cool because as I'm finally getting a couple groups of kids who are now in college or who are, approaching a level of adulthood where they're independent. And it is cool because your relationship almost starts to transition a little bit. They still call me Mr. or Coach Jennings.
Yeah, but it's more friendly.
Yeah, it's kind of like as you grow older and you have this relationship with your parents that transitions a little bit more. You're always there,
it's a great
obviously.
Example.
Yeah, their son or daughter, but getting to see that transition a little bit and seeing kids be successful in college and in their careers has been really cool, really fun.
I wanted if this is too personal, just tell me now. But I want to talk about your decision to not have kids at the moment. Is that too personal?
No.
I feel like it's really, dude. This is okay. Since it's not too personal, he told me this one day, and I was so surprised. And we were having a conversation over dinner, and we brought up having kids, and he was like, and correct me if I'm wrong at any point. He was like, "Nah, I don't really want to have kids," and I was like, wait, what? I never hear anybody say that. And your reasoning was that pretty much kind of what you just said. You have to invest so much into your students that you don't know if you could invest that much into a child. Maybe you fill in the blanks. But I was actually really intrigued and inspired by that answer because it was. I think people sometimes want to have kids for selfish reasons where and I feel this way. Like I kind of want my own blood. Like I want a Cole Jr. in the building. Come on.
Right.
But you were just like, I invest so much and have so much time putting these kids. How am I actually going to raise like someone properly if I'm so invested all the time?
Yeah. As it's a personal decision that my wife and I made together and you never know what the future might hold, but that's our intention is at this time. We're pretty happy with it just being us. And I think one of the things for me personally that's kind of led me down to that is my career in education. I do feel like I have like a lot of kids and that I'm able to invest more into them because I don't have a kid at home that I've got to come home and have all this emotional energy that I can then invest in them as well. For better or for worse, that's kind of where I'm at as far as my situation is. I've transitioned a little bit. I'm not in the classroom this school year because of some of the virtual learning that's going on, but it's still, I feel that same way. I still have the opportunity to coach some sports and interact pretty closely with some kids. And I
mean, that's how kids get messed up, is that their parents don't have time to invest properly in them. So that's why I just thought it was really cool, because if you recognize that you won't be able to do that, or you just don't want to, whatever the real reasons are, it's just, I don't know, it's like a special decision to be able to make, because kids take a ton of time to do it properly. And I don't have kids, and I don't really teach kids, but I just see it, and I like learning about it, because I want my kids, whenever that happens, if it ever happens, I want them to be better than I want them to have it better than I did. And my parents tried very hard and did lots of things wrong and did some things right. And so I just want to continue to learn and give that to them. So it's better to give that than to not have the time and whatever. Like when I have kids, I want to be ready. Like I'm going to invest a ton of fucking time into these kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not that, if I had kids, I would just have to reevaluate, kind of, I guess my career and, how much time I'm investing in them. But like, I'm pretty happy at this point as far as the amount of time that I have to invest in my community and in the students that I work with. And I like being able to give, almost give all of myself to doing those things. So at this time, I think it's just a good decision for me, but definitely is. Yeah. People give me, raise the eyebrows, whenever I chat about that, because people just expect that.
That's what I hate that. I mean, I kind of hate that I raised the eyebrows. Sorry, man. But it was, you're like one of the only people I can really have conversations with about this, because we grew up very similarly in where we were and the people we were surrounded by. And it just is like, you're supposed to do this and this and this and this and this and this. And it's just, you did some of that where you went to school and you got married at 24, 25, 24, 26.
We're going to have to cut this out.
Just kidding. We know exactly. We're just not going to say. But, so you did some of that, but it's like you just are supposed to do these things. And I just hate how you get, not you, but like people get into this trap almost sometimes where it's just like you do all these things and then all of a sudden you're just like not where you want to be, and it's like, damn, only because society and the people around you think that it's what you're supposed to do.
And I mean there's this expectation society, almost this checklist, you get the degree, especially kind of where we grew up, and the expectations kind of surrounding us and our friend group was you go and you get the college degree, and then you med school, law school, or you get join your career, whatever that is, after your undergrad degree, and then eventually you're gonna get married, you're gonna have kids. But I feel like it's just checks and boxes, and that was just kind of the way we just kind of grew up, and it was kind of expected that way. And you've obviously gone your own way and done your own thing. And while I do think I have checked some of the boxes, I'm also kind of tried to go my own way. And so yeah, it's interesting that we've kind of veered off on our own paths and done our own things. But I think we've both been successful in different kind of ways for some of the things.
Definitely. And what is interesting is, and this is my perspective, but in high school, we weren't the closest out of the friend group. We weren't the furthest.
Yeah, we weren't.
But we weren't the closest. I think it was me and Tim probably. We were pretty close.
Yeah, I think so.
And then we went to college together. And
yeah, you and Tim both went to Clemson.
We both went to Clemson. And then after that, I dropped out at 20. You were doing UC Sumter?
Yeah, I was at UC Sumter for 2 years.
And I just was like, it was on a whim, man. I was just like, dude, me and Josh, we're not even talking that much right now. I don't even know if we were talking at all.
It'd been a little bit. It'd been a couple of weeks, I think, since we even exchanged
anything.
Yeah.
And I was just like, dude, do you want to? And I don't even remember it all the way. I just remember calling you and be like, do you want to like move to Columbia? Like, let's live together. Right. And I had to. Did I convince you? I can't remember what it was like.
Yeah, I think I initially was like, because I think I could have maybe done one more semester at USC Sumter before I absolutely had to transfer to USC Columbia. But I think it just got to the point where I was ready, and then it was like I knew you, and I knew I thought it'd be a pretty good match.
There's some trust there.
Yeah, so it was crazy. It all just kind of like fell together super fast. In a span of 2-3 weeks. It's like I went from living at home with my folks to all of a sudden, we're out on our own. We're living in 5 Points in this little loft.
We lived in the middle of 5 Points. It was it was a loft, yes, up these really shitty, shaky stairs, and we had to. My stepdad, Glenn, he was a lifesaver.
Literally.
That he helped us carry like this big couch and all this stuff.
The dude put it on his back. Yeah. It was insane. To this
Josh
day,
always talks about it.
It's just one of the most impressive feats I've ever seen. On these rickety little stairs, he's got the couch on his back and he's like opening the door. Yeah. So how does this man have this level of strength?
And we're just all watching him pretty much.
Yeah. Go Glenn.
Yeah. He killed it.
It was insane.
Yeah. But this place, it was the word. I'm trying to cuss less, and so I'm going to try to say less cuss words. But I really want to emphasize kind of like how shitty it was. Like it was so bad. It was concrete walls, so the AC and the heat and all that stuff was horrible. And there was one unit, and Josh got the room. I don't know why he got the room.
It was the worst thing in the world, though. Just wait. That was the worst decision I ever made, was getting that room. Because go ahead.
So he got the room, but then there was a living room, and so the living room was I don't know, like not large, but large enough to where we put a blanket or like a
It's
curtain,
like a sheet yeah.
across the whole room, and my bedroom was half of that sheet.
Yeah, we just cut the living room in half, basically.
Yeah, and so there was a couch on one end, and I could pull the sheet, and there was a bed and a desk and a fucking dresser or something.
Yeah.
But the AC pretty much only worked in that room.
It was only in the living room. Yeah, it just worked in the living room. And so between the living room and the kitchen, and then the kitchen connects into my bedroom, which my bedroom was smaller than his. It was smaller than his portion.
It was pretty small.
But the AC only worked in that living room. Well, there were these doors between the kitchen and the living room, and Cole would accidentally close the doors all the time, and all the cool air
I had
would
a
stay.
girlfriend at some points, but the sound barrier wasn't good.
No, whole nother story there too.
I don't know. Should I tell that story? I kind of want to. It was so funny. I found out after the fact.
Man,
just
crazy.
use your imagination though. The sound barrier was not good.
It was not.
And there were
good at all.
times
And
where
I was sick
thought
one morning.
Josh was gone.
I wasn't gone.
I thought he was gone, but he was gone.
Sick as a dog.
Man, and then he just walked out the room, and yeah.
Hey guys.
Damn, that was bad. Okay.
That's tough.
That's not the full story, but anyways, there was just we had so many memories there, and we just like there was moments where I remember we would both be like sitting on the couch with blankets on, and we're just like looking at each other because it's so cold.
Literally.
And it was one of the coldest winters. I feel like.
Yeah, because nowadays it wouldn't even. I don't feel like it would matter. It's so hot in the winter. 80-degree. Christmases, but it was not that winter.
No,
it was cold.
It was so cold, and the bill.
Oh,
and we just didn't have
it was
any
like
money.
our rent, dude.
Yeah.
Like the electricity bill was like our rent, and we're in there freezing and just sweating.
It was ridiculous, and I think it's because it was concrete and it was just a window unit.
Just poorly insulated too. It just was.
But the rent was only $550.
So it was, yeah. So we thought we were getting a steal.
Yeah, but we weren't. And I was serving food, and I feel like I was working almost every day, but I was only making like $200 a week.
Yeah, and I was like I stocked the dairy section at a kind of a bougie Piggly Wiggly, yeah. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't making a lot of money. Especially that was just the first job that I picked up once I got there, and I was lucky to get it. But it was just. It was crazy. Crazy times. Yeah. Great memories, but just like it was low point as far as where I'm living.
Yeah, it was very there was definitely lots of low points. But that's what's kind of cool. We were talking about last night over a cider. We were just reminiscing about how like certain times feel like you just have all these memories about that time. So it's like, you remember when we did this? You remember when we did that? Yeah. But in the moment, it was like, it was kind of bad. It
was bad, but I just feel like we have so many. Like when I talk to, sometimes kids want to know, more about, what was your college experience like, especially some of the seniors or juniors that are getting ready to kind of go off. And I always reflect on, for whatever reason, that's where I always find myself first. It's just like college is fun. You're going to make some memories, but there's probably going to be some low points.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
Exactly.
And just got to grind.
For me, because I had because for me, that wasn't a college experience. So for me, that was like my real life experience.
Yeah.
Because my college, I was at Clemson, and I got the college experience for like a year. It was full, pretty much everything I needed to get. I pretty much got it. I went to the parties. There was tons of girls, and I like hung out with bros and had beer and all that stuff. Never joined one of those stupid frats or anything. I never,
Sorry, I hate the frats.
I hate frats, man.
I can never get on board.
I'm not, you did it, it's fine. But I wasn't really a fan. But anyway, so this was like my real life when I got with you. But I remember, too, there was like a moment like 9 months in, and I don't even know if we ever had a lease. Or did we have a lease?
Yeah, we had a lease.
We didn't have a lease. We had a lease. But we decided, we were just like, we have to leave. We have to move out. And I think it's because it was hot. Was it hot?
I think it got to that point, yeah.
I felt like it was September, August.
Because we had, I think we'd moved in, because we moved in like in December or January maybe. Mm-hmm. But I don't think we did a full year lease. I think it was more like 9 months.
Yeah, it was something like that. I don't know if we broke the lease or not, but anyways, it was a thing where we literally, in the span of a couple of days, were just like, we have to leave, like right now. We can't stay here. And we picked up another place that ended up being like $750, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
And I had to get Glenn and my mom to help me co-sign or something to do it. It was a thing, but it happened really fast. And that ended up being the second place that we lived, and it was nice. What I'm trying to say is we built our relationship over these course of like a couple years, and now, like, you're my best friend, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool. It's like I was his best man at his wedding. That was a cool experience. I always envisioned it in my head where I would like look how I wanted to look and like give an amazing speech, and it wasn't quite how I envisioned it, but I still gave a little speech.
You did, and there's actually a real cool photo, and I share it occasionally whenever I talk about that experience. It's a picture of you literally holding up your hand like that and giving the best man speech. And but I mean, every time I see it, it's like it's a cool moment for me because it's like
a heart moment.
It is, because it's like that kind of was a culmination in our friendship in a way. It's just like, that like you were the guy. You're the guy that I could always count on. And like, I was talking with Sydney the other day, when I was mentioning I was coming down to Buford, and it's just like, if I called Cole in the middle of the night, if he was awake, he would,
good point.
If he was awake and he answered the phone, it wouldn't matter if it's 2, 3 in the morning. If I told him I was stranded on the side of the road, Cole would come, he'd come and help me.
Yeah, I'm the dude. Yeah.
He's the dude. I mean, literally.
And I'm not that dude for a lot of people. I'm not even gonna lie. And I'd probably feel like a little bit of, pressure from other people. But you're like, there's only a couple people that called me. I would be like no doubt, like 0% doubt. Let's go do this. I've just never really been that person, so it's cool to have a person that you can be that with. Yeah. Because you can only build that many like close relationships for a long period of time with so many people. Because not everyone knows you your like whole life pretty much. It's kind of crazy.
Right, and that was one of the crazy things I think about our friendship too, is that, you and I have kind of moved and navigated to these different places, but it's like we've always managed to, we've been very intentional about staying in touch. And sometimes it was easier than other times. Sometimes it was like we're literally going to, we talked about our monthly goals meeting that we had.
Which I highly recommend. We pretty much called each other every
2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah. And we would have goals, and you just try to do the goals and you shit talk if you don't do the goals. You try to win, pretty much. It was helpful for a little while, but I think we started failing a lot.
The conversations weren't as productive anymore. It's just like, why is this happening over and over again? Failing. But it was, it's like this idea of the accountability partner.
Yeah.
And we still do that in a lot of ways. Now we do it through Snapchat mostly.
Yeah.
But,
about running, it's a big thing.
Yeah.
But anyways, continue. The accountability and
but Cole's just always been like this guy who's always held me accountable, whether it was talking about relationships or talking about finances or even career goals. Has been something recently that we've chatted a lot about.
It's true. It's cool to have someone that's. So I want to say that we're like really different, but there's actually a lot of ways we're similar. But we seem way different, I think, on the outside. I think if you just saw, like, for example, if you just looked at our Instagrams, what the people see, we would be like way different. You wouldn't even expect us to be friends, really. But we actually have a lot of similarities, and we're able to bounce things off of each other, which I think is cool. And I think we both, like, maybe we're both over here in some ways, and we just pull closer to each other, and it helps with perspective and all types of stuff.
And that's been a lot of fun, I think, too, is just like seeing each other grow. I think whether, from high school to, our period where I was, when we moved to Columbia, I think that was a huge area of growth for you and me, a lot of emotional growth, especially, I think.
Yes.
Learned a lot about relationships and about ourselves. And now just seeing our career growth and where we've taken off and done things and, had failures and had successes.
Yeah.
So it's like we do have a lot of there are a lot of things that are similar, but like we're definitely doing these things in our own different creative spaces. So it's been really cool to have somebody that could share, literally, over a decade's worth of experiences with some very personal experiences, some heartaches.
Yeah.
And to be able to reflect on that and call somebody up and know they've got the background knowledge to all that, and I don't have to explain that. And so a lot of times they were there for those things, some of those really important moments.
Exactly. So. That's like he knows me, maybe not better than I know myself, but me like pretty well. So like some of my tendencies, and like especially with girls, I'm so funny when it comes to that stuff. But it's just like it's fun to be able. It's just fun to tell someone those types of stories who knows you. So it's even funnier because like all the things that I've done and all the experiences or whatever, and you pretty much were friends with every girl that I've been with, pretty much. Which is kind of cool. It's just like, it's cool. So I guess what I'm trying to say too is that if you have a friend like this, I think it's really important to like stay in touch, and because there were moments that me and you could have lost that, like really, and you always tried, but I feel like there was a couple periods where I lulled, probably because I was really stressed out with the business stuff. I feel like that's what it was. I feel like you're about to make a really good point about with guys, especially with guys.
Yeah, I would just say I think it's harder for guys just because, I think society discourages a lot of these, tapping into your emotions and kind of opening yourself up to that. Even with your friends, I think a lot of times you choose to shortchange some of the things that you're feeling. At least that's been my experience with, some of my male friends. You and I, obviously, I think it was because we had such a close relationship. We've been able to talk to things that were more personal in our lives and things that we wouldn't necessarily share with people who are just acquaintances or colleagues.
That's true. You have to kind of pull that out of people. I've become way more transparent, especially as I've been talking more online. Like, I think that's what I'm supposed to be. I'm not supposed to be this closed off person. I'm supposed to be transparent. So I'm being honest with people about how I'm feeling. Now, I'm not always, like, if you don't know me, I'm not really going to tell you that. But, like, when I'm talking to the camera, I feel like this transparency. And I've always treated you and my close friends like that want to listen. And not everyone wants to listen. And I only really know a couple people that I feel like will really care to listen. And you're one of those people. So I'll be honest with you, and I'll be like, it hurts. This sucks. Or I feel shitty about this. Or you should probably do that. Like, I'm really open and honest. I don't know. There's a point. So, like, I think when I was around maybe like 23, 24, you know how sometimes you get weird about, or like you can, like, don't be a puss. Like the fact, like, I love you, bro. Like that type of stuff. People are like, you act weird about that. When in reality, that's like a beautiful thing. Like, you should be able to be like, I love you, bro. Or like, I care about you. Like, you're one of my best friends. You should be able to have that open, like you would a brother, like you would a sister. I don't know. It's just really important to tell people that. And to,
yeah. So there was an individual in our community who was just, he was a pillar of the community. He was a guy that just literally, it just such a huge heart for everybody that he met. And that was one of the things that he was so good at, was just conveying, whether I was, he'd hug you, he'd tell you he loved you, he'd tell you, how much you meant to him. It didn't matter if you were, just an acquaintance, or if you were, if you've been friends with him since you were growing up. He treated everybody like, this could be my last moment with you, and I care about you. I love you. I want you to know that you're important. Yeah. And, unfortunately, recently he passed away. And, but that's one thing that's really kind of been on my heart lately as well, is like, are these interactions that I'm having with my colleagues, with my friends, with my family, even with my students, do they know that, if this is my last moment with them, do they know how much I care about them? Do they know that they're important to me, that I love them, that, that they're a big deal in my life? Can they feel that? Am I making sure that that's apparent to them? And that's something I haven't always been very good at, with you and I think we've been...
But we haven't always been good with it.
Yeah.
It comes with time. I'm still not great at it. Honestly, it's like a thing. I envy people who say, like, I love you all the time, because that's like, it is important. And we don't say that all the time, but we have said it because we know we feel it, or we have different ways of showing it. Yeah. But that's more the person I want to be too. So I totally get what you're saying. I want to be the person that's like even more open and even more loving. So I think that's what life is like about.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. I don't think that our society values that in the way that it should, because life is so fleeting, and we never know. We left and right, we're seeing things happening. Whether it's celebrities, or whether it's folks that are close to us in our family or in our communities. It's like nothing's guaranteed. So why don't we take the extra 5 seconds to tell people, I care about you, I love you, I want you to be successful. Why don't we have those little conversations more frequently? So yeah, that's something I'm really trying to emphasize, especially just moving into this next school year. I really want people to know I care about them, that I want them to be successful, and that they mean a lot to me.
That's I've been thinking a lot about just being my best self, and that's like one of the big things. When you said something earlier, I don't even know what you said, but you made me think about your sister, and it made me think about this thing you told me that really affected me. You pretty much said something along the lines of the way that I treated my sister inspired you to treat your sister. Can you talk about that for a second? Because I found that not only was it like, it made me feel like swell with pride. I was like, I'm glad I affected somebody. But I think it's really important in general, like your perspective on that.
Yeah, I think growing, especially in high school and maybe even early on in college, I was really, honestly, envious, I think is the word, because I saw that I wasn't doing as good a job with my siblings, especially with my sister, of kind of being the role model and the brother that I needed to be. And you've always, and I know Bailey, I think would affirm this, is you've always been like, you're always in her corner and she never has to question that. And y'all just had such a positive relationship.
Yeah, try hard. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was, I think, especially I moved in with you and I saw the check-ins that y'all would do, and just even the few visits that I had the opportunity to be part of when she would come over and visit, or you would go there and I happened to tag along for whatever reason when we were together. I really respected the amount of time and effort you put into managing that relationship and making sure it was always a positive one. And it was something that I was just like, I've got to do a better job, especially with my sister Bethany. And I think that I have. I really think
I've seen it. Yeah, I saw a legit large change. It's really cool, man. It's like I don't know y'all's in-depth conversations, but I see when y'all interact now. It's just like way more loving and caring, and it's cool. Like,
yeah, it's like I always loved my sister, but it was I didn't do as good a job of conveying it or showing it as I should have, and I credit you a lot for that, because you kind of like unintentionally coached me on the importance of investing in those relationships. So
it shows me that people are like watching, and especially if you're friends with someone like you, people are watching you, and the things you do matter. But especially with sisters, I just want to talk about that for a second, is it's so important, in my opinion, as you're a male role model in this person's life, and a younger sister especially. Your sister is like 5 years younger than you? 6 years?
Yeah, 6 years. 6 years.
6 years younger. My sister's 3 years younger. You have such like a vital role to play in their life, and my family was divorced, so I feel like it was even more of a vital role, just because it's constantly being pulled back and forth. But really with everyone, you show them like how a man can be, and then I think the younger sister starts to look at, just like they would their dad or whatever, it's like, I want to have a man that's like this, and you like want your sister to just, I don't even know how to explain it. You just want to show them like what they deserve in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's the idea. I know Bethany could probably poke some holes in your argument as far as
I'm sure, yeah, and Bailey too.
Some of the qualities that I have, but yeah, I do. I love my sister, and I want the best for her. She recently got engaged last night.
As of last night,
was
congrats.
The big news. So congrats to her and her fiance, Jeff. Whew, they're gonna have to get used to fiance.
Yeah, I wanted to marry her, but
it fell apart. I'm sorry. But congratulations to them. So super excited about that. But again, even the culmination in our relationship and even getting to know Jeff better and better, that's been cool as well. He's a super nice guy.
It's like being supportive is just really important. And you let people make mistakes, and you like, I'm gonna love you no matter what. This is what I think you should do. But if you don't do it, I mean, I get it. I mess up too.
Yeah, and I think in the past, maybe especially when I was in high school or when I was in early college, I don't know that she would have come to me for advice about things, but now, she's an independent thinker. She does what she wants ultimately, but I do think we have more conversations about, well, how do you feel about this? Or what do you think I should do? Whether it's with her, a job that she's doing, or whether it's with her school.
People want to be listened to, and that's with any relationship, but with a sister, I feel like exactly what you're saying is so true. You have to like ask how they feel, and this is really any person in general, but like, how does this make you feel? Like, how do you feel about this? This is like, you like someone, or you're just getting engaged, or like, no matter what it is, it's like, how do you feel? And it's okay to feel that way. Like, do you have any questions? Like, you ask me? Then they start to come to you, and they start to be like, I don't know how I feel. It's just, if you let people be open or whatever, it just kind of like that relationship blooms. And listen to them.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
In my opinion. I want to change the conversation a little bit to back to education. So I'm not really super involved with education, and in a lot of ways, I'm like anti-education. Not really, but I'm very pro-learning, and I'm pro-education, really. But I've been estranged from college and things like that. I've had a lot of not really great experiences, and I think it's due to lack of discipline and wanting to do my own thing. But I don't know, man. I feel like there's just a lot to uncover, and we don't have a lot of time left. But I want to talk a little bit more, not necessarily about the kids part, but like what education like means to you, and not just learning, like the actual education system that we have. You know what I mean? It's loaded.
Yeah, another loaded question. Yeah. But yeah, I'll try to take it somewhere.
Thanks, man.
So it's tough because it is such a broad spectrum of where you could go with that. I think for me, Personally, education's done a lot for me. Personally, it's meant a lot to me. It's provided me with a lot of avenues, a lot of role models. When I think back to, I was, Wilson Hall is our high school, Wilson Hall is very different from where I work now, but they did instill a lot of things in me. The motto was diligence and integrity. And I like to think for the most part, I've been able to try to uphold those values. And those are things that are still important to me. But I really think back to some of the teachers that, and it's weird because we had different experiences with these teachers. We were talking about it in the car.
Yeah. It's like some that I love, you hated. Yeah.
Yeah. But there were some in particular that really I think this ultimately kind of put this yearning for me to move into education. Was I had some folks who really were some role models for me, especially some male role models for me who really pushed me to be the best version of myself that I could be. And sometimes I failed. But for the most part, they really, I think they did an okay job. But they meant a lot to me. I think a lot about Coach Way and Coach O'Hare.
Those are one of them was a track and cross country coach, or just track?
Yeah, Coach Way was our track coach. He did distance, so he worked with me.
And then Coach O'Hare was cross country and history.
Yeah, and history. Coach O'Hare and Dr. Barrett both were. I ended up majoring in history, and it was a large part due to their classes. And Mr. Hoskins with his government classes,
by the way. It was like his favorite class, but Coach O'Hare's fantastic. I love Coach O'Hare, but I just would start writing these notes, and then every day
you just see the handwriting just.
I could not do it, man. But it was like you killed it in those classes.
I love those classes, dude.
I like the Coach McCord. He was great.
Yeah, and we just had different experience. I didn't really like, that was a content thing as well. I didn't really.
I think it is a content thing.
Real big on the sciences, and I think you were bigger on the sciences.
We both liked English though.
Yeah, which ultimately, became the English teacher, so that makes sense. But history and English, I think, are, they're close relatives, where, they're writing and research intensive. So I think it ended up working well. I got even though my undergrad was in history, I ended up getting placed in an English classroom. I passed the English praxis, and then ultimately went and got a master's in English as well, which was really enjoyable, but difficult at times.
Sounds difficult.
Just trying to balance those papers, man, with working and coaching. It was crazy, but
what was your favorite class as a high school student? If I had to pick one.
If I had to pick one, oh man. So there's a couple that I liked. I did really I liked Mr. Campbell's AP Lit class.
That was a good class.
That was a good one.
That might have been my second favorite.
And it's interesting because I feel like my style is reflective of several of these folks, but he was one where I really liked. His was almost like Socratic, where you went home, you were assigned reading, basically, and then you came in, you were expected to chat about the reading and where it went. But
that was kind of the class. It was. I feel like it was a lot of chatting.
It was. Yeah. It was very much like picking apart the literature as you got to class, and the expectations were pretty high in there.
They were.
I think
it was tough.
That was definitely the toughest literature class I had, but I got the most out of it in high school.
Yeah. What did you get in that class? Do you remember? I feel like I got like an 85 or something.
I don't remember the exact.
Probably beat you. Wait, what'd you get on your SAT, bro? What'd you get on the SAT?
Oh my gosh.
Pretty sure I got like a 1320, something like that.
Yeah, it's
pretty
insane.
Good.
So I got a 1250.
Oof. Damn.
I know, it's really interesting
weird.
because we had different. In high school, I just wasn't as successful of a student. I didn't really.
It's so ironic, really.
It's strange.
Yeah.
And, now I'm finishing up my.
I'm
finishing up my third master's, and I'm working on my doctoral degree.
Yeah.
But in high school, I just kind of, I don't know, I was focused on other things.
What were you focused on, man?
I was so concerned with my athletics, and then.
That's true. He was a star, really, in that.
As far as I don't even know about that. I mean, I was like,
you were the fastest person in our grade for sure. Maybe
there's 60 people. So.
I mean, that's pretty cool. As far as like, in the 800, you were like the fastest at the school, pretty much.
So I was all state in SCISA, so like in the private schools, for a couple times for cross country and for track.
What was your 800 time? Tell him.
It was 202 202 and some change. It's not school record though. Trey Parker beat me. Yeah, he had me. So.
You always remember the ones that beat you.
Yeah, it's tough. Trey was a fantastic runner.
Yeah,
super good guy.
Yeah.
Unfortunate, he came right before me and destroyed all these records.
Yeah, I feel like that about the pull-up record. I had 27 pull-ups.
Okay.
27, and then the next year, I believe it was James Lowry. came in and just like destroyed
it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He was like small too, and he just.
Yeah, but it's like records are meant to be broken, I guess. It doesn't help any, when it gets broken for the person who lost it. Though.
Yeah, that's true.
The old adage doesn't help at all.
It really doesn't. But I always looked up to you. I couldn't believe, because you came out of nowhere, kind of. It just was like you were a scrawny kid, and you weren't really that athletic, I don't think, in like 6th grade.
Yeah, no, not in like 6th grade. I played like I'd played like, park, like the PARD.
PARD, okay, yeah. Me too.
Like soccer, baseball,
all-star.
Yeah,
that was me.
I was an all-star 1 year. I just want to be clear.
All-star 2 years.
Oh,
aha!
I was like 12, but
exactly.
I don't know. So like I did all those, I did the things, and then like B team football, I was not good.
That's what I remember. I think that's why I think you were unathletic.
I hated B team football. I was just not.
I got killed. It's so funny. There's some dudes who are just huge on B team for whatever reason. They stay the same size their whole career or whatever. But it's just that year. I remember being small, and I think it was Shane Green or whatever. He was just huge. Dude was huge. He ran me over, man. And I ended up, we're probably about the same size now. I don't even know. But at that point, killed me.
I just remember, man, I was with the lineman, which is crazy. I ended up being all-state for running, and then I was with the lineman in B team, and I would just, I'm just scrawny. I was just
you
not
were small
athletic.
too. You were really scrawny.
It was bad. And then so I'm sitting there in the cage every day. God, I'm like, oh, we're going to the cage. Yeah, flat on my back every day, and then I get yelled at.
Yeah. It's a tough sport for sure. Yeah. But then you just kind of like came out of nowhere, and you were great, like 7th or 8th grade.
Yeah, it was really crazy because so 7th grade, and I wanted to go. Honest to God, I wanted to go to the away meets, and I couldn't go to the away meets running. I think we were doing sprints. I think I was with 100, 200, 400 group. So I talked to Coach Art, and I was just like, hey, what if because we need people in the 2 mile. I was like, I'll run the 2 mile. That way, I didn't say that way I can go to the way meets, but in my head, I was like, I'm going to the way meets as a 7th grader, because I can run the 2 mile. It's terrible. It was absolutely terrible. I think Trey Parker lapped me twice the very first summer in the 2 mile, because I was just not, I was a scrawny little kid. Trey was, fantastic, generational athlete at Wilson Hall. Yeah. And it was terrible, that was first go round, but it instilled a desire in me, because I saw him and Dominic Beal was another. He's a little bit older than us.
Sounds familiar.
We just had a really cool cross country culture. Really the 2 years before I actually joined the team, and it's hard. It takes years to develop that. So I really applaud Coach O'Hare for being able to instill. Those are just some like hard working, nose to the grindstone. Like this dude would just throw down miles. Yeah. And that culture was still there when I joined the team. Even though we had some new faces, we still had Trey, and then we had guys like, Reed Schwartz and Jeff Cox and some of these, Wesley Talley, some of these guys that came in there and really, they joke around and we had a good time, but we worked super hard when it came down to it.
Do you take some of that with you when you like coach people now? Some of the same ideals? So
Coach O'Hare is a different kind of coach than me for sure. He's definitely a little more old school. He was run you till you got nothing left. One of our mantras one year was, I want you to be a step short of death when you cross the finish line. I'm not quite there. I joke around about it every now and then with the kids, but no, I'm not the step short of death coach.
You were saying the other day, like, you're very inclusive. You want everyone to be a part of it, pretty much.
Yeah, I do.
You want to push them still.
One of the cool things about the program that I'm a part of, that I was able to build, we'd never had a program before, is that I can be a little more inclusive of. We have some folks who have never done any sports in their high school careers. Sometimes that's because, they weren't necessarily super athletic, kind of like me in, 6th, 7th grade. And they just were turned off to sports. And, you could, a lot of times it was, I met them in the classroom, and I just kind of like thought, hey, this could be something, if nothing else, put it on your resume. Whenever you go to college, you played a team sport.
Yeah, it's cool.
And then some of them turn out to be, pretty solid runners. Some of them turn out, they're there for the social experience and to try, for whatever reason, they're out there to just try to better themselves. It's one of the cool things we talked about running earlier, is that it's different from other team sports, because ultimately it comes down to you as an individual trying to break your previous, you break your previous records.
Really cool, honestly. Every other sport that I know of is team, and you have to be a team player, which is beautiful. Because for me, football is such a beautiful sport. I love football, but that running it's intense, man.
Yeah, and then kind of like, after your race, you come back together as a team and you say, well, hey, how were your individual accomplishments, and how does that turn out, pan out as a team? So it's cool. There's still a team components there, and you suffer together a lot.
Yeah.
Those summer miles, where it's
Yeah.
90, 95 degrees, but heat index is ridiculous. Those are some tough times, and you do some bonding, while you're drenched in sweat running down the open road.
Yeah, I can
with
only
nobody
imagine.
there to suffer. But
Speaking of open road,
yeah,
I'm gonna say this now. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but one thing that's gonna happen is we're gonna run a half marathon together.
that's the commitment right now.
Yeah.
Cole says he's running a half with me.
Yes, and I will do it, but I'm really considering, and I want Joshua to be the person that comes with me, potentially running across America.
It'd be crazy. It would be crazy, and we have to figure out the logistics and the time frame. But
Yeah. Dude,
it starts with a little crazy, I think.
it starts a little
To
crazy.
have that kind of opportunity.
Even if
we,
I really would like to succeed, but if we don't, if it takes us 3 years to get there, 4 or 5 years, it's fine. No, 3 to 4, 3, 4, 5 years to get to the point where we're able to do it.
Sure.
That's
we're not
fine.
doing it tomorrow. We're not setting off tomorrow.
Yeah, we
for
can't
sure.
do it tomorrow. But this is something that you'll say in front of the camera that you'll try to do with me. If we get it set up. It's all
Yeah, logistic, it's gonna take some planning. But yeah, I'm not opposed to this. I haven't talked to my wife about this, to be clear. I'll definitely chat with her.
Definitely need to chat with her. I think it would be something. I don't know. I'm feeling hype right now. I'm feeling ready to do something crazy, see the world, and just push yourself, man. And you're one of the only people that I feel like could push yourself to that limit with me. I know a lot of people, but I don't know a lot of people that would do something like that.
Yeah, it's a different level.
It's a different level. I see some fear in your eyes, bro. Do you see the fear in his eyes? I see some fear. We'll do the half, and then we'll do a full.
Let's do that first. And then
I've never run more than 3 miles in a row.
Yeah.
No. What we do? We do a 5K, or that was a 3K?
No, we did 5K. Last Thanksgiving, we did 5K.
Okay.
You, me, and Bailey.
That was the furthest I've actually run in a row. So a half marathon would be considerably more.
Yeah.
Like
it
4
would,
times.
10 more miles, yeah. Literally. 10 more miles.
10 more miles. That's insane. But I think mentally I'm getting to a point where I don't know, I'm ready to do something like that.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things about running is that it is so mental. Like, you can push your body. It's insane how far you can push your body. Even though, in your head, you think that you're tapped out. But, you can do 3, 4, 5 more miles a lot of times, more than whenever you think your initial stopping point is. So, because there are multiple, I've run a couple marathons, and there's multiple points where it's just like, this is just terrible. I need to just stop and just die right now.
What keeps you going? What pushes you?
The $100 entry fee that No. I don't know. I think you've invested so much time into preparing yourself to get there. It's like anything that you're heavily invested in. It's like you don't want to, if you put a lot of effort into this training that you're going to do, or provide for staff, if you've spent days or weeks trying to prepare it, you aren't just like, oh, I'll call out sick because this is going to be hard. You know what I mean? It's like you can't bail out. Plus, a lot of times these, there's no other choice but to run because it's not like they're like out and backs or.
Yeah, that's true.
Once you get halfway there, you're pretty much you messed up because you turn around, it's the same distance. So
what we were talking about earlier was I'm on this big discipline kick where I need to learn discipline, blah blah blah. But even as like a kid, when I was running with you, we would get to a point where, because I did track and I did football, and he did cross country and he did track. So we would do track together, and you don't have to run a long ways in track, but you run a couple miles. And after like a mile, every single time I'd be like, dude, can't do it, can't run anymore. And that was like my mindset. And so what we're talking about today is like, what is the difference? Like, I will risk it all for like music and whatever, but when it comes to running over a mile, I'm just like, nah, screw that, can't do it. Like, I don't even know. Like, what do you think so for someone like me, because you know me decently well, what am I doing wrong? What is it? Is it just like I don't care enough, maybe? Just like don't value it?
Well, I think also another thing is you've been successful with that mindset in your career and in your business. Like, you've been really successful in like saying, okay, I'm just going to risk it all, or okay, I'm going to quit this job or quit this business, and I'm going to, like, I don't have anything lined up, but I'll find something because like I'm just going to grind and make sure that happens. And you've been successful doing that. It's harder I think with your health or with with running, for example. It's just harder because you don't see it. You don't see it as quickly. Like, if I quit my job and I immediately get another job, or I get another job in a week, it's like I've seen the result and I got there. But with running or with your health, it takes so much longer to see those results. And I think we just get bogged down in the waiting process, I guess.
That's a great point. I think I'm finally starting to see past that, exactly what you're saying. And even with health, too, because that's something that me and you talk about a lot, is like getting healthy. Because you have a problem with soft drinks. I have a problem with just eating shitty in general. I mean, we both have the same problem. Our taste buds are pretty similar in a lot of ways.
So the sweets. You have more sweet tooth than me. That's not
my
thing.
sweet tooth is insane.
I drink a lot of empty calories, but I'm not like big on the sweet tooth. I'll do some fast food.
That's where we have also,
yeah. Breads with like Chick-fil-A sandwiches.
Yeah,
get me.
Stuff like that. Yeah, and it's like how we grew up, and we've talked about, had serious conversations about how it's like unconditioning ourselves to love those, or to unlove those things, and it's been a journey. We're both working through it. I think we'll get there. I'm finally just like seeing past, like I need to fuel my body to get where I need to go, or I'll just be stuck in this space of like, I'll gain and lose weight. I'll never look how I want to look, never feel how I want to feel. I'll never reach these goals. And that's terrifying to me.
That's been a problem for me. Like this last year is like 10, 15 pounds. I've just kind of been in the same range and just trying to get down to like my goal weight. It's like I'll get real close and things will get crazy at work. And then now I'm getting up earlier. I'm sleeping less. My doctoral classes are like kicking my tail. And it's like I just justify. I'll just take a shortcut. I'll just grab a Red Bull this morning and I'll just grind. And it's so easy to do that and to justify it based on those things, but it's like it's hurting me and my health.
But it's not a shortcut. That's the thing, is like you think it's a shortcut or something, but it's really just, if we just focus for like a month, 1 month, like so much could change.
Yeah, develop some new habits.
Yeah. Even I'm studying right now to take a test. I'm not going to reveal what kind of test it is, but I'm studying, and it's like I was just telling him, dude, I could finish in like a week if I just focused. But I won't. I just haven't been. It's this discipline thing, man. I just study for 2 hours and I'm like, got other things to do. I'm going to do those things.
Yeah. It's just so easy to get like bogged down in life and other things that are going on and to justify putting those things off, I think. And unfortunately, health is one of those things that for me has been a struggle to get back to where I want to be.
What is the missing key for you think, to getting there? Because a lot of people, you go through the stage where you like, you're fit and cool, and then you turn like 22, 23, and you start gaining this weight, then you're like, oh shit, I'm fat now. And then you're like, okay, let me lose the weight. But then you can't go to that like point where you want. So what do you think it is for you, this missing piece?
Honestly, I think it's just being more intentional about what I'm eating. I've got to cut out, eliminate all those empty calories with the soft drinks and the Red Bull. I've got a problem. I've got a serious problem, and some of my colleagues at work have definitely noticed and are ribbing me a little bit about it.
Yeah.
So they've noticed. Other people have noticed. It's a problem. So I've got to get that under control as far as the soft drinks and the sodas and just the caffeine intake. I've got to do a better job.
Yeah. Definitely, obviously.
And then just the time, I think, because the easiest way for me to justify not, eating or drinking the way that I need to is I just push it off on time. I'm so busy at work. I've got all this.
You are busy, dude. You got a lot of shit going on.
Yeah, and I'm commuting back and forth to my job, and it's just like it's super easy for me to just be like, just screw it today. I'm just gonna break. I'm gonna break the.
But the thing is, you do it every day.
Yeah,
that's the problem, because I do the same thing sometimes, where I'm just like, I failed today, I won't fail tomorrow. But then you fail tomorrow, and then you fail the next day.
Yeah, and then one of the things, so like last month I had like a really good running month. I did like 100 miles, but it's like I really didn't lose any weight because I really picked back up at work where I was so busy and I was just drinking, things that just weren't good for me. And I picked up fast food several times for lunch with colleagues, and it's just, I just didn't do as good of a job. It's like I'm putting all these, hours and hours and hours into fitness, but it's like I'm not getting any more fit because my diet's so bad. It's like this idea that that you can't outrun a bad diet.
Yeah,
you literally can't.
I ran 100 miles.
Yeah, it's like I stayed the same.
Yeah.
So I did 100 miles and I stayed the exact same.
Yeah. You can't outrun it. I think actually that may be the title. You can't outrun a bad diet with Josh Jennings. It's the truth.
It's beautiful,
dude. I'm gonna do a handshake here. You're my dog. Love you, bro.
Love you too, dude.
Say I love you more, folks.
I love all you guys. Thanks for checking in, tuning in.
Appreciate it. We'll catch you next time. Good job, man.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was smooth.
I thought so.
About an hour exactly.